Well, I'm back, everybody. Day 2. Let me turn some lights on here. Didn't realize it was going to be that dark in here. There's so much light in this room. So here we are on day 2, and I said I would go live every day. I'm going to get these chat messages on here. Okay, so I can see your messages. I'm going to turn one more light on and then I'll be ready to go. So yesterday we talked about getting started on the 21-day challenge. So we're on day 2. One more adjustment. Sorry about this. Now we're on day 2, and so, you know, we didn't make everything on day 1. So what else do we need to do to keep going with this 21-day challenge? Because we don't have to have everything prepped in advance to be successful on the 21-day challenge. We can make things as we go throughout the week. We can make things every day. But what I find is that people who think they can just make things day to day, like, you know, they're going to make everything as they need it, are not usually very successful. Because what happens is you run out of time. You don't have time to make new recipes every single day. If you have a question or anything, I'm here by myself, so I can do the best I can to monitor. Here we go. Monitor the chat, but I'll come up and answer any questions if I can. So we want to make stuff ahead of time. So how are we going to do that? Time is limited, and I'm trying to make this as easy as I can. I hope that's not my dog out there. I'm trying to make this as easy as I can without making it not be very tasty. Because I know that I've seen a lot of people do their recipes where they have taken things and put them in the Instant Pot, you know, or put a bunch of vegetables in a microwave or something, and then you know, oh, that's not my dog. I keep seeing a dog out there. I thought, did my dog get loose? But that's not her. So, you know, then I see their recipes and I see their food and I think, well, that doesn't look very appetizing to me. So I'm trying to do this in a way where the food tastes really good. And even though it's whole food, plant-based, no oil, let's make it taste good. So for today, my task was to make some vegetables because we had, if you go back to yesterday's day 1, and I'll label all these day 1, day 2, we had some steel cut oats that I made that I could use for the next 5 days. And then I had made some beans. So I still have my beans. I'm going to use them today. So that the beans are still here. I didn't eat all of them yesterday, about half a cup. So I have all these pinquito beans. And then, if you recall, I made black quinoa. So we can continue to use black quinoa. So what we do is we build every day. That way you don't have to cook something new every day. So how do we build today? Well, today I decided I was going to make some roasted vegetables because I really like roasted vegetables. They're still hot. I really like roasted vegetables, and they keep really well, and you can eat them hot or cold. I'll move this back so you can see better. You can eat the roasted vegetables hot or cold. And so one good thing that you can do is you can make enough for a few days, and then you have another component to add to your meals. So in this case, I made a couple of baked potatoes. I didn't make a bunch of them because remember, it's just me. My son is here. He doesn't always eat the food. Sometimes he's gone and busy. But I made him one too for tonight. And then I had a sweet potato in my pantry that was looking a little limp. It didn't look like a great sweet potato, but it was still firm enough. So I got the sweet potato and I put it in the oven and roasted it, but always roast your sweet potatoes on parchment paper or silpat because they'll ooze out all their sweet syrup, and you don't want to have all that sticky syrup running through from your oven rack to the floor of your oven. So you do that. But with the baked potatoes, I just stick them on the oven rack at 400 and cook them for an hour. And they're usually done. And to know if they're done, just squeeze them. And when you squeeze them, you should feel the potato give, and then they're done. If you squeeze them and they're still hard, then allow another 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I just cook the potatoes on the rack. Of course, I know you're probably thinking, well, can't you just cook the potatoes in the Instant Pot? Yes, you can, but they never taste as good as a potato right out of the oven. Open it up and it's all fluffy inside, okay? There's just something about a freshly baked potato, and I'm gonna show you, even though I'm not gonna eat this potato right now, I want to tell you why it's good to do things a certain way, why I do things the way I do. So the freshly baked potato, and I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it. A freshly baked potato, you can just see how I squeezed it. I opened it up and I squeezed it. It looks wonderful. It's all fluffy and dry, and it's not dry, but it's got that kind of fluffiness. And this is an organic russet potato. And this is like the old-fashioned potato you got when you went to a restaurant or when you had it on a special occasion, but it's absolutely delicious. There's nothing like a freshly baked potato. It doesn't even need anything. It's so good. But what do you top your potato with? Well, remember I showed you the no oil hummus. Hummus is really good on a potato, or even on a sweet potato. So that can be the beginning of your meal. That's like a meal starter. So bake some potatoes. This doesn't take any time. You come in, you're tired, throw in, you take your potato, poke a few holes in them, throw them on the oven rack at 400, an hour, you have some baked potatoes. And that's a great meal starter. And then remember, we have our Santa Maria Pinquito beans. So instead of hummus, I have beans. I'll throw some beans on my potato when I eat it later. And then for my roasted vegetables, you remember in the 21-day challenge, we have to eat cruciferous vegetables every day, a half a cup. So I was at the store this morning. I bought Brussels sprouts. I put the Brussels sprouts on my tray here, and I roasted them for about 30 minutes. Now I know that I've seen lots of other people say, oh, well, I just put my Brussels sprouts in the Instant Pot, or my potatoes, I put my potatoes in the Instant Pot. They change, the texture changes when you cook things in the Instant Pot. They never, to me, taste as good as they do in the oven. These Brussels sprouts still have some life to them. They still taste like fresh vegetables. And it's like when you put them in the air fryer, not the air fryer, the Instant Pot, they kind of change to more of a, I don't know, an older taste. I can't describe it, but I don't like it as well. So how do I roast them without them drying out? Well, my secret for roasting all my vegetables is I have a big bowl of veggie broth, okay? Store-bought, homemade. Throw some veggie broth in a bowl. Throw all your cut up vegetables in with the veggie broth. And if you want it to be rich, you can add a little bit of tahini, like Mighty Sesame tahini. I didn't this time because I didn't really care. And then I've just got them wet. I laid them out on my sheet tray. You can see where they were before. I had to take them out before my acorn squash. And that was it. I just cooked them for 30 minutes. There's nothing to roasting vegetables. I sprinkled a little no salt seasoning on them. This I get at Costco, big jar. And that was it. So no, you don't have to have a lot of time to make these Brussels sprouts. Now I did have to cut the ends off and cut them in half. So, okay, that didn't take much time. They taste really good. And at the last minute, I drizzled them with some balsamic vinegar. This balsamic vinegar is my 18-year aged balsamic vinegar. It's kind of thick and syrupy, and it tastes really good. I love this balsamic vinegar. It's from the Virgin Olive Oiler in Fort Worth, Texas. But lots of companies have their own aged balsamic vinegar, and a lot of you get the vinegars from California Balsamic. I have a whole collection of them here in my cabinet right below me. And I have all these California balsamic vinegars. These are good on roasted vegetables. If you want to make something a little bit more involved to put on your roasted vegetables, you can make my tahini balsamic dressing. And that one is, I'm sure it's in my Simple Daily Salad video here on YouTube. And I'll post the link to it later. And it's just some tahini, some balsamic vinegar, a little mustard, and garlic. And it turns into a salad dressing. So you can make it a little bit more complex. That's one of my favorite salad dressings. I see several people watching. If you want to comment, so I can see if the comments are working, send me a comment and I will be sure to read it. I think I can read it almost from here. If not, I'll step up and look. And then the other thing I made, which again, don't just make one thing. If you're going to take the time to turn your oven on and make something, I made 4 different things. I put the Brussels sprouts and acorn squash on one sheet pan. I stuck potatoes on the oven rack, and then I put another sheet tray with a sweet potato on it. So I had the whole oven full. So don't waste your time. If you're going to cook something, cook a bunch of stuff. And that's how you prepare for the week. So this really is a form of meal prep. It's not formal, like I didn't have a meal prep list that I had to go buy this and go buy that and make this and make that. I went to the grocery store and I thought about what I felt like eating as I'm walking through the store, and I thought, oh, Brussels sprouts, I haven't had those in a while. They're cruciferous. Acorn squash. They had some small acorn squash today, and I love acorn squash, so I got 2 small ones. And I cut them into little wedges and then put them on my baking sheet after. And I didn't, I stuck them in the vegetable broth too, just to get them wet. And so how do I know they're done? Well, I just stick a knife in there and it's soft. Perfectly done. So there's no secret to this kind of cooking. 400 for these took about 35 minutes. They took a little bit longer than the Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts took more like 30 minutes. But don't burn them. I've seen people take Brussels sprouts and put them in the air fryer with mustard and balsamic vinegar on them and cook them to death, basically, until they were really dark and crunchy and not very appetizing. These, to me, they're still very appetizing. So, you know, I think that if you try it that way, you'll like it. I'm going to make sure the comments are enabled. I see a few of you are watching. Let's see. Okay. Not blurry here. Oh, okay. I didn't have the comments enabled. So somebody said it was blurry. Hopefully it's not. It could be my Wi-Fi connection, but hopefully it's good. And the last thing I did with my roasted vegetables is I put some seasoning on them. So I had this Penzeys, it's called 33rd and Galena. So it's one of their spice blends. Penzeys is a spice company. And so I just sprinkled that on there. Why did I pick this one? I picked this one because it has black pepper, paprika, nutmeg, and sage, okay? Nutmeg and sage. Oh, the Brussels sprouts that look yummy. Thank you. They are. They're really good. They have a little bit of crunch to them, but not too much. They're done, but they're not overdone, and they're not raw. So the 33rd and Galena is good on squash. Okay. Hi, Julie. I've been looking forward to day 2. Mary Cooper. Thank you, Mary. So I put this sprinkle on here for, you know, the acorn squash. And that gave it that kind of nutmeg and sage and cinnamony kind of taste. But, you know, if you really like your squash sweet, like kind of holiday squash, you could drizzle date syrup on it, just a little bit. I don't use maple syrup much anymore, so, you know, I wouldn't say to make it too sugary sweet, but maybe a little drizzle of date syrup would make it taste sweet. But what I find is these roasted vegetables taste good cold or hot. So really, literally, you could, you know, be in a rush and not have time to make yourself a plate of food because you're heading out to work or something. And you could just take a container or a plate or whatever, however you pack your food, and make a plate of your roasted squash, your potato, some Brussels sprouts, and take it with you with a little half a cup of beans. Now I know that doesn't sound like some gourmet chefy recipe, but I'm trying not to think in terms of recipes to help you. I'm trying to think in terms of everyday life forever, because I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I'm not doing this for only 3 weeks. And I've learned over the past 2 years that our food doesn't have to be that complicated. Our taste buds will start to adapt over time, and we'll be able to enjoy food that's pretty simple. Of course, now I have ways that I boost the flavor. I make my sauces like this balsamic tahini dressing. I always keep my good hummus around if I can't make my own, so I can put a dollop of hummus on something. And then by making my own beans, I have some really good tasting beans. So yesterday I didn't talk about cooking beans in the Instant Pot, but you can cook your beans in the Instant Pot. It's not an issue. I cook them on the stovetop if I'm home hanging out and I have plenty of time. Then I cook the beans in the Instant Pot. Let's see, I like food that is without recipes. Simple is good for me. Thank you, Tammy. So yeah, I have plenty of recipes. So if you need a recipe for anything, if you search my YouTube channel, you'll find all these recipes. I can put anything together in a recipe, but I'm finding more and more that people, to survive, don't need recipes. They need food. They just need to be thinking in terms of what food can I have around. So for now that I've got all my squash, which I plan to eat tonight, my dinner tonight is going to be, I'm on my way to the gym at 4 o'clock to work out. So I've got to go change, go to the gym, do an hour of weightlifting. When I come home, I'm going to have my baked potato. I'm going to supplement my plate with some of this acorn squash, and then I will put some beans on top of my potato. I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to have to reheat my potato. I will put a few of these Brussels sprouts on my plate. I'll do that later too. And so my dinner is going to be some Santa Maria Pinquito beans on top of a freshly baked potato with acorn squash and Brussels sprouts. That's it. I don't really feel like eating anything else tonight. Now I'll probably add something on top of this when I'm done, but the beans will flavor the potato, so I really don't need anything. There's seasoning on my acorn squash. There's seasoning on my Brussels sprouts in addition to this delicious balsamic vinegar. And I don't really need anything else tonight. So that's going to be my meal for tonight. Now that leaves me still with some other stuff. Trying to read the comments here. Perfect meal, Tammy says. That still leaves me with plenty of other stuff. Like for tomorrow, I have beans, quinoa that I made, which if you remember Monday, I told you that on Wednesday, I'm going to make quinoa with lettuce. So like a quinoa lettuce wrap. I didn't get any lettuce for lettuce wrap, but in my garden, I have a bunch of really pretty lettuce growing. So I'm going to take some of my garden fresh lettuce and I'm going to use it as a base, and I'm going to put my quinoa chickpea mixture on top with peanut dressing. So tomorrow I'm going to make a recipe. Now I'm not going to make it all on my live thing. I'll have the components and I'll assemble it because that recipe is already here on YouTube. So I'm not going to spend my time on these making recipes for the most part. Now I'll probably make something and talk to you while I'm making it. But I'm not here to cook full recipes. I'm here to show you the food. So now for my repertoire of food for this week, you see I've got roasted vegetables, potatoes, a sweet potato. So I do have a sweet potato I can use along with some roasted Brussels sprouts, squash, quinoa. I can make a plate with those things. And I can put a bed of fresh vegetables on any of my food. So I call that, lately I've been calling it my bowl of plenty. So what I do is I take on a bowl of plenty, and one day I'll just make one, but I have all my salad stuff here too. I went to the store and I got all the stuff to make my simple daily salad. So there is a YouTube video called Simple Daily Salad. And basically what I do is I go to the store, get the same things that I really like. You may like something different, but I love little cherry tomatoes. I get some different kinds of spring mix or whole heads of lettuce, but today I got spring mix. And then I have one of those progressive storage containers that keep the vegetables super, super fresh for a long time. And they don't wilt, they don't go bad for days and days. So I've got my favorite things in here. I love red bell peppers. I love carrots. I love Fresno chilies. And still have some zucchini. And I have a cucumber that's too big to fit in here. So once I cut it, I'll put it in here. So every time I want a salad, instead of getting all these things out, I just keep them in this one big container and get them out, cut up what I need for my salad, and then put them back. And I do wash the things before I put them in here. So all I have to do is cut them up and put them in my bowl. I find that a lot easier than, I tried for a while, some of you have probably heard of Nutmeg Notebook, who makes chopped salads. Let's see what this comment says. What temp do you normally bake the potatoes? Oh, for baked potatoes, I just always use 400, and they take about an hour. If they're big like this one took about an hour and 10 minutes because it's kind of extra big, but my other one, this size, just took an hour. And same thing, the vegetables, I just put them on 400. Be sure they're wet. That's the big thing. Make sure you have some water or broth, and dunk all your vegetables in water or broth before you put them in the oven, because roasting is a dry heat method, and dry heat methods need moisture. That's why everybody uses tons of olive oil to cook their roasted vegetables, because they don't taste good without some moisture. So, you know, we don't do oil, but we can put a little tahini in the water or the broth, and that gives it a lot of richness. I've done that many times. And you can use the air fryer. You can put, you know, your your acorn squash and Brussels sprouts in the air fryer, but again, be sure and wet it and cook it on a lower temperature, more like 350, no higher than 375, and watch it very carefully, because in about 5 or 7 minutes, that stuff is going to start burning. So if I cook it in the air fryer, I keep a close eye on it. Now, I didn't cook it in the air fryer today because look, I had so much. You know, I had a whole bag of Brussels sprouts and 2 acorn squashes and potatoes. So if I relied on my air fryer, it would have taken me too long to mess with the air fryer. Let's see. Thank you for the hint about wetting the potatoes. Oh, I don't wet the potatoes in the oven. The potatoes go in dry, but all the other stuff goes in wet. With the potato, I cooked the potato, this one I cut open to show you how nice and fluffy it was, because cooking potatoes on dry heat encourages them to be nice and dry and fluffy when they're done. So I don't understand when people take their potatoes and they cook them in the Instant Pot or in some kind of wet method, because the potatoes never have that kind of nice dry interior that I like to just fluff up and taste really good with avocado or hummus or something, or even with just some cut up vegetables, corn, beans. You can just take any kind of potato and throw vegetables on top of it and make that your whole plate. So this is all about, today was all about keep it simple, but have vegetables, because a big part of the Daily Dozen was we have to have 1 serving of cruciferous vegetables, half a cup, 2 servings of greens, so I've already eaten greens today, so I'll have to eat them again, 2 other vegetables. So that's another half a cup of 2 different vegetables, a half a cup of squash, half a cup of Brussels sprouts. Potato is considered a vegetable, so the potato will be a vegetable, then I'll have my beans. So I'm going to get the rest of my Daily Dozen in my next meal. I did not eat lunch today. I had a dentist appointment, so I had some dental work done. My whole face was numb until a few minutes ago. I had a couple of crowns from decades ago that the dentist kept telling me, we need to replace those with more current ones, so they did. And so I did not eat anything after breakfast, but I did have my steel cut oats. So again, having those steel cut oats made was so handy, because before I left for the dentist, I made a bowl of steel cut oats, heated in the microwave for 1 minute. You could heat them for 30 seconds, but 1 minute actually worked better, with some almond milk and some blueberries and little walnuts and some of my homemade granola. So it was funny, I was in the grocery store and I saw a box from Plant Pure Nation in the freezer section of the grocery store, and it was called breakfast oats or something like that. And I looked at the label and it said creamy vanilla steel cut oats with blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, almonds, walnuts. And I looked at that and I said, well, that's just like my steel cut oats at home. You know, I don't put, 5 kinds of berries on them. But I thought, well, I eat that every day this week because I made steel cut oats one day. And the price on it was $5. $5 for one, and it was frozen, so it's not going to taste as good as your freshly prepared steel cut oats, and with fresh blueberries. So I thought, that is a lot of money, $5. What if you had 3 people in your family? Who could eat $15 for steel cut oats? So by making our own food, it's much more economical, okay? That's a big reason to make your own food. Thank you for simple meal ideas. Oh, you're welcome. I'm trying to make this doable for everybody. For 21 days is a long time to have to do something over and over. And I realize that you can't just rely on a bunch of chefy gourmet recipes, which, I'm known for making all these, elaborate recipes with a million ingredients, which are great once in a while, like when you have time. But if you're like most people, I remember I was a mom, I have 4 kids. And, they range in age now from 45 to 31. So I don't have kids to raise anymore, but I have grandchildren. I'm not raising them. But I do clearly remember working my entire adult life, going to work every day, getting up super early in the morning, drinking coffee, trying to wake up. I'd be tired, hit the snooze button 5 times and not ever want to get up. Now I'm retired and I jump out of bed at 5:30. Why? I could sleep as late as I want, but I still get up so early. Old people, I guess. But, I do remember not really having time to think about food. I had to get myself ready for work. I had to get the kids to school. I had to work all day. I had to eat lunch, something for lunch. Sometimes I would bring something if I had time, but half the time I didn't have time to make lunch or breakfast. Okay, let's see what this is. I definitely will try some of your recipes. They all look delicious. Thank you, Tammy. So, then running in the door, I just remember taking my kids to all kinds of practices after I got off work. One had piano, one was in soccer. They all had something. So it wasn't just come home from work and relax. No, it was take the kids around to all their things. Finally, we'd get home, walk in the door. Everybody needed a bath and homework and dinner. So dinner was, back in the day, like I said, my youngest is 31 and my oldest is 45. Back in those days, we ate a lot of heat up frozen stuff, or casseroles, or, hamburger helper, macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. Just terrible food now that I think about it. I did not make wonderful food for the family except on weekends. But we just ate whatever we could. Did a lot of takeout in later years when it was more popular to go to restaurants. So, I understand when people say they're busy, they're gone from home 12 hours a day. When are they going to be like me and make a gourmet meal? They're not going to. So my tip for you is, on your weekend, when you have more time, like say start on Saturday, if you have to, or Sunday, make some of these components. Let's see. That's what my kids grew up on too. Yeah, spaghetti, lasagna, whatever. I could cook anything, and that's what I cooked. But take some time, whatever time you have, and make your beans. If you have to use the Instant Pot, use the Instant Pot. It's not going to kill the beans. I've used it many times. I just happen to like them better on the stovetop. But if you Google Rancho Gordo Instant Pot cooking times, there's a table, and it tells you, like, these beans would cook in 35 minutes in the Instant Pot with a natural release for whatever, 20 minutes, I don't know. But they would be good, they would be fine. So then you don't even have to worry about that. You can make your beans in the Instant Pot. I know lots of people make their steel cut oats in the Instant Pot or crock pot. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. Just make them. Just have enough on hand for your week. And then grains, same thing. I made the grains on the stovetop, the quinoa for this week. You can make quinoa in the Instant Pot. It's not that much quicker because it's a quick cooking grain. It only took 20 minutes. But things like brown rice, some people swear by the Instant Pot for brown rice. If you want to make your rice in the Instant Pot, I think it only takes like 7 minutes. Throw it in there and make it. Another thing is you can buy brown rice in frozen bags at Trader Joe's and the grocery store now. My grocery stores both carry different kinds of frozen brown rice. Let's see what this question is. How to store the potato after cooking. Okay, the potato after cooking, I just put it in, a container, like a glass dish container, and that's it, and then reheat it. Potatoes taste better freshly cooked. They don't taste as good heated up. Well, I've got to get going. I got to go to my gym. So anyway, I'm sorry you guys, but I do have to leave. It's a 15-minute drive to the gym. I just wanted to illustrate to you, take some time, prepare some roasted vegetables. They taste good hot or cold, so you can enjoy them either way. And then use the things that we've made. So what we're doing is we're building throughout the week. We're building on different foods every day so that we have a wide array of selections. We're not just eating the same thing every day. So hopefully you can take some of this information. I don't have time for any more questions. The recipe for tomorrow is called quinoa lettuce wraps with peanut sauce, and it's one of my YouTube videos. So I'll see you guys back tomorrow. I'll actually, take a little bit longer, and we'll make something. I'll show you how I make that recipe and talk about some other things that we're going to be eating this week. Okay, so thank you guys for following along, and if you have questions, you can put them in the comments because I can come back. This live video is saved on my YouTube channel, and I can come back at any time and read your comments and answer them later, which I did yesterday. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a great afternoon.